We will talk about all the moonshot opportunities that can go 10x guys in the next couple of years for Bitmine. We have seen the very first one, Orbs, which was quite a roller coaster so far, but they are 6x on their returns on the first moonshot. And there were much more, but the stock's obviously very, very volatile. And we see what we will do with the future moonshots of Bitmine and what those could be.
Welcome to the game, I'm the wolf of Dubai.
Welcome to a brand new video. If you don't know who I am, I'm the person that is talking about Bitmine every single day on my both channels. So check out both channels and make sure to subscribe to both. Also, my subscribers, bought houses and apartments in the US because they were very early on Tesla, Robinhood, Palantir, or Nvidia with me here on this channel. And today we are early on Bitmine. We are talking about Bitmine when it was a $30 company. Now it's almost a double, and still we are so early, okay? Also, check out X10daytrading.com, where we trade for you all automatically with our AutoPilot software. If you have $10,000 or more, we reached last month, September, 13% increase. We want to reach about like 8 to 15%. So if you start with $10,000, you should be around like $58,000 in the first 12 months. All done for you. If you have $10,000 to start, check out X10daytrading.com. Now, I want to make sure that you understand the moonshots first, okay? When Tom Lee said in his, clip for the very first time that he will do moonshots, I not really thought like what this moonshots could really be. I haven't had any idea that this first moonshot goes actually to the moon, okay? Right from the start. Because the first moonshot was a very, very clever one. And let's dive into that first. So the very first moonshot was the following. They took like a internet e-commerce company that was already on the stock market. They transformed it to a kind of treasury company, but for the token world of Sam Altman's new venture, the orbs. Okay, the orbs are actually scanning your iris to verify that you are human. Sam Altman thinks that this will be a big thing, and so Tom Lee did something very genius. He went and said like Dan Ives, one another very bullish guy on Wall Street, everybody knows this guy, and he said you will be chairman, or maybe they discussed it and said like you will be chairman. I invest $20 million at the stock price of, and now let's dive into the chart, of around like $1.46. And then the stock went up 3,200%. Since then, it lost a little bit, but you can see it's still up around like 500% since then. So the 20 million is way up over $100 million for Bitmine, okay? And this was just the first moonshot. So in today's video, we will discuss what the potential next moonshots will be, what the categories we need to think about, and what could be the result of those moonshots in general, okay? So what could be the next moonshot? So this is like very, very, very theoretically, because we obviously don't know what is the mindset of Tom Lee, what is the next moonshot, but I think that he will stay with the moonshots at around like $20-30 million, okay? So the first moonshot could be that he looks into a treasury company for Bitcoin. I think that he maybe finds something that is similar to MicroStrategy, and he is very bullish on Bitcoin. So he thinks, okay, let's do something similar what we did with Bitmine, but just for Bitcoin. So they create a new treasury company, maybe put someone else as the chairman, someone that has something, a kind of legacy on Wall Street, and push that. Okay, so that's one idea. Another idea I was thinking about to be in the AI power generating space, because I have seen that power generating companies, like for example the company of Sam Altman, Oklo, went absolutely nuts. So I think maybe they will go into that direction as well and say, okay, this AI infrastructure play will have huge opportunity in the next years to become a huge player, okay? And I think what Tom Lee is trying to do is to say, okay, you know what? We will always take a private company or a new idea idea, buy or transform an existing very small public company and invest very early so we get a lot of shares. And then when we announce it, it goes 10x, right? Like it actually did like 30x, but now it's 5x, like we did with Orbs. And let's imagine they do this with 20 different companies, okay? And they all on average goes 10x up. So they invest $2 billion, they will get $20 billion, and they will have assets under value of already, let's say, 20 billion. So they will have a market cap of $40 billion. You know what this means for the stock of Bitmine? That means that it will be 4 times as big, just with 10 moonshots ideas, okay? So that means that the stock of Bitmine will be somewhere between 200 and 250 when they are continuing this strategy of moonshots, okay? I think potential areas could be also DeFi, payments with Ethereum, infrastructure plays, AI, crypto plays as well, right? Maybe something also crypto related, but also combined with robotics would be also quite interesting, right? So those are the things that are very, very interesting. Maybe they will also launch a company that will do some kind of interesting services or kind of interesting infrastructure for Wall Street. Okay, let's say, Goldman and Sachs want to do something with Ethereum. And this company could offer the service like, hey, we are giving you the necessary knowledge or the necessary infrastructure to build your products on Ethereum. Okay, I think that first of all, in the small cosmos of Bitmine, they will look into something that is always built on Ethereum, because the goal is to push Ethereum and to push the blockchain of Ethereum further and further and further. So I think that the first place will be in the universe of Ethereum. So I think that this will be quite interesting. And now you think like, well, for that, everything needs to go up. Well, exactly that Tom Lee said 2 days ago in a new Fundstrat video, that he believes the bullish party is way not over. Have a look in this clip.
Hi there, this is Tom Lee. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Fundstrat Capital and the lead portfolio manager for Fundstrat's U.S. Large Cap Granny Shots ETF. This is our update for the week of September 25th. Let me start with some particulars. As of September 24th, the price of Granny Shots ETF was $24.87, the net asset value of $24.86, and $2.875 billion of assets under management. Over the past week, Granny Shots gained 0.9% compared to a 0.58% gain for the S&P, or 32 basis points of relative performance. Year to date, Granny Shots is up 24.55% compared to 13.95% for the S&P, or relative outperformance of 1,060 basis points. Let me start with some macro, which is in our view that equities are still in a strong uptrend. Now, you may have noticed that stocks wobbled a little bit this week, especially in the last few days because of technology. But the S&P 500 is still comfortably above the 20-day moving average, which is 6602. And as you can see here, the last 5 times that we got near the 20-day, since the April lows, the market had a nice bounce. And that's our belief too, that in the short term, stocks are oversold. And if you ask yourself, do we think the market is expensive now? Keep in mind the S&P is about 10% above its 200-day moving average. Now, is that expensive or overbought? Well, as we highlight here, since 2022, there are 3 times where the S&P was at a higher level relative to its 200-day moving average, 13 to 15%. And as we highlight here, those indeed marked local tops before the start of a larger correction. So I think it's better to think about the market as getting close to that, but it probably needs to gain another 5%, which would be 69.50. And that's a lot of upside, and it coincides with the fourth quarter rally. You may be wondering if the Fed is going to be hawkish, but keep in mind that AI is really raising questions about the labor market, and that's what the Fed's going to care about. St. Louis Fed did publish an interesting study, and they showed that if you look at AI exposure rate for industries, low to high, and then look at the rise in unemployment, low to high, you can see that it's highly correlated. In other words, industries where there's a lot of AI exposure are seeing the largest displacement of workers. And so that ties into an observation, which is that we may be witnessing the early stages of AI-driven displacement. And that's going to keep the Fed dovish. Another thing to be constructive on stocks is that, this is from B of A, that there's lower leverage today in the financial, in corporates. And that's a good sign. So let's talk about granny stock performance. Well, let's look at the top 5 performers over the past week. It's KLA, 10 Core, Quanta, CrowdStrike, Robinhood Markets, and Palantir. Okay, and these are all AI-related trades. The bottom 5 performers are Expedia, Live Nation, Amazon, Axon Enterprises, and S&P Global. And in terms of style, global labor suppliers was the best theme over the past week, followed by energy and cybersecurity, and then style tilt.
So as you can see, like, those are the interesting thoughts. I think that Bitmine with those moonshots can get to 200 and 250 with a little bit of exposure to Ethereum as well. So let me know in the comments what you think and how many shares of Bitmine you have. Do you have also some shares of Orbs? Would be very interesting. And let me know in the comments what you want you to have the next videos on. We are posting 2 videos per day. Make sure to be early on the 10x on Bitmine and check out x10daytrading.com. If you want us to trade for you all automatically, then schedule a call with me personally and we see if we can help you as well. And make sure to remember, the grass is greener always on the other side.